Hey, John Ty here, and welcome to the Self-Publishing Summit. Our guest today is a highly successful entrepreneur, having built his first multi-million-dollar company before the age of 25. He's also an international speaker and best-selling author of 3 books, Key Person of Influence, Entrepreneur Revolution, and his new book, Oversubscribed. In 2010, he co-founded Entrevo, a growth accelerator company designed to help entrepreneurs establish themselves as key people of influence. And that's something we're going to talk about during this presentation. He's an Australian living in London. However, he travels a lot and his home is planet Earth. Our guest today, Daniel Priestley. Daniel, welcome to the Self-Publishing Summit.
Having me.
Sorry, we lost you there, Daniel.
Oh, sorry, not off to a good start, but thank you very much for having me.
It's a pleasure. We've talked before, which is great. So it's good to have you on the summit here. Give us. We're going to get into a little bit of your publishing history. We're going to get into the key person of influence idea and what that involves and why that's important. But just before we do that, can you give us maybe a couple of minutes overview of your entrepreneurial journey so that we've got a bit of context?
Yeah, so I was very lucky. From 18 to 21, I got some great entrepreneurial mentoring, and I did a few little entrepreneurial ventures, worked under the wing of a great entrepreneur, and then at 21, I started a business from scratch using my own credit card, and it went really well. I had my first business, which was a unique sort of boutique marketing agency. Went from 0 to $1.3 million in the first year. We went to making sales of $10.7 million by year 3. So by the time I was 25, we had a national business making more than $1 million a month in sales. Dealing with budgets of up to $250,000 a month worth of advertising and all of that sort of stuff. I got out at the exact right time of that opportunity. Went off and as I magically picked the peak and got out. And then I ended up going off to London and launching an events company here in London, bringing some of the world's top entrepreneurs and leaders to conferences in London. And that led to me spending a lot of time selecting great speakers for conferences, and also spending a lot of time with them, hanging out at hotels and on trains and planes and moving around and getting to know them behind the scenes. So along the way, I was able to buy businesses, sell businesses, raise significant amounts of money for funding. And then today, we run an entrepreneur growth accelerator in 6 cities around the world. We have a mentoring team of about 30 ultra high net worth individuals who do the mentoring. We have 1,500 entrepreneurs that we've mentored. And we've created more than 500 authors, people who now have books in their hot little hand as part of their business toolkit, as a result of working with us on the KPI program.
That's great. Fantastic. So a perfect guest. You've helped create 500 authors, and you are a 3-time author yourself. And I know we were chatting just before we came on air. You've got a couple of books in the pipeline as well. So tell us a little bit about your publishing history, and because for your first book you published in a different way to your second and third books. So tell us about that, and there's pros and cons to both types of
like most people, I started publishing blogs. So I was writing lots of blogs, and a couple of my blogs got some really great feedback and some hits. One of those blogs was a blog about how to become a key person of influence and why technology is going to leverage personal brands, which I wrote in 2008, 2009. And it sparked a lot of conversation, and it was about, this personality branding and how technology is becoming the focus, but it really should be about becoming a key person of influence. And that sort of sparked me to want to write a book. I found myself stranded in Singapore with a injured knee, and 2 weeks in a hotel room. And I basically decided I was going to turn the blog into a book. So I consolidated a few of the blogs that I'd been writing, wrote a lot of the joining materials, and put it all together in a book of about 40,000 words. and released the book Key Person of Influence. And what I did is I worked with a hybrid publisher. So it's like self-publishing, except I just paid a fee to someone else to do the editing and the typesetting and all of those sorts of things, and to put it on Amazon and to do, organize the printing. And we organized that, and out it came in 2010. And the reason we did the self-publishing route was because I wanted to give away a lot of copies. I didn't actually want to sell the book. I wanted to be able to give away thousands of copies of the book because I wanted to use it as a business generation tool.
Yeah.
My logic was pretty simple on it, which is, if someone was willing to sit down and have a coffee with me and listen to philosophy on business and life and all of those things, would I be willing to buy them a cup of coffee? If I could sit down and have a conversation with someone for an hour, and of course I would spend £3 buying a cup of coffee. And then I thought, well, if I would do that logically, then I'm sure I would buy them a book, because that's effectively the same thing, but it doesn't cost me any of my time. So I would much rather spend the £3 and give away thousands of copies per month, because effectively it's like me being able to go out and have a cup of coffee with 1,000 people a month without actually having to leave my front door. So I kind of went out there and said, all right, well, for the cost of a couple of cups of coffee, I can send people books, and I'd rather send thousands of copies out there. So we did. So we sent thousands of copies of the book out to thousands and thousands of people. And sure enough, this business just erupted overnight. Within the first 12 months, we were doing, we had hundreds of people wanting to do business with us. Today, we have offices in 6 cities around the world. We have programs that sell out months in advance. We have events that sell out in advance. We fill up theatre auditoriums. We've won awards for being the 9th fastest growing company in Australia. Our team won a Guinness World Record here in the UK. We've raised hundreds of thousands of dollars for charity. And it's based on the idea that, we send out a lot of books. It had a really great flow-on effect.
Awesome. Well, I mean, that's great. That's very impressive. Before we go on to, talk about the second and third books, you said you gave out thousands of books. And by the way, I love the idea of leveraging the book to, I mean, if you sent out if you had 1,000 cups of coffee with people and it took an hour each, that'd be, I don't know, like 6 months doing nothing but drinking coffee. Yeah. So fantastic that, you spend the same money, but you get a book out. And of course, it can be done very, very cheaply now in terms of getting books printed. How did you go about choosing who to send those books to? Or did you have people coming into your website and downloading the book, or how did that work?
Yeah. We were lucky. We did actually have a list of, we did have a good list of people, because we've been running conferences, and we did actually have a, reasonable size list, so we could start there. But as soon as we started giving the books out, people wanted us to come and speak at events and give books to their people at their events, and then people wanted me to send, a box of 50 books to their event that they were going to do, and sort of the word just sort of spread, and then people would hit our website and they'd sign up for a free book, and we'd send them a free book. And for that, we just found, when you've got a goal to give away 1,000 books each month, you start finding places to give them away.
Yeah, and with the would people come to the website to get a copy of the book? Were you was it completely free? Did you charge shipping and handling for that?
At the time, we actually just purely and simply said, fill in your details, we'll send you a gift.
Yeah. Okay.
Send it over to you. So once again, it was based purely on my idea that if I had coffee with enough people, would it turn into lots of business? Yeah, it would. So it's worth spending the cost of a couple of cups of coffee and a train ticket on meeting someone for a coffee. So why wouldn't I just pick up the cost of sending people a book if they're willing to read it? If they're wanting it, if they're willing to read it, then let's speed up the process. It was kind of like one of those ideas of like, let's not take 6 months. Let's do 6 months worth of activity in a month, every month.
That's great. And It's obviously been very successful in terms of building that business very rapidly. And I just want to touch on something for any fiction authors that are listening to this, which is that, you know, a great strategy, which obviously the strategy is going to be different if you're not building a business on the back end, but something that you can think about doing is giving that first book away for free. If you've got books in a series, because if people like that first book, they're very likely to go on and buy the second, third, and however many there are in the series. Yeah. So that's something to, it's not the same strategy, but it's sort of similar, certainly something to think about if you are a fiction author, or maybe you write a short story, a novella type thing, something like that. So just that little point for the fiction authors there. And okay, so that was the first book, and you went down the hybrid road with that. Tell us about the next two books, Entrepreneur Revolution and the new one that's just
Oversubscribed.
Oversubscribed.
Just come out. It's got oversubscribed.
Literally like a week ago or something, wasn't it?
Yeah. So what happened is that I gave away a lot of books, and I started getting lots of Twitter followers and people talking about the book and rating the book on Amazon and all of those sorts of things. So then I got put in touch with a traditional publisher called Wiley, who have a division of kind of businessy, entrepreneurial, kind of almost self-help books even, and their division is called Capstone. And I met up with one of their commissioning
Just lost you there, Daniel. I don't know if you can hear me.
Can you hear me? Look,
you just come back in. You said that you with Wiley, and Capstone was one of their imprints, and you're about to meet with one of the editors, I think.
Yeah, so as a commissioning editor, and what they want is they want bankable authors. They want an author who's going to get sales. So when I was able to tell him that we already had, I think at the time, maybe 15,000 copies of my self-published book in the market, and that I had all these Twitter followers and I had all these reviews on Amazon and all of that sort of thing, he said, "Oh wow, well, you know, then you seem like a bankable person that we could sign on as an author." So they paid me in advance to sign on, and then they did all the work. So it's a different experience when you go with a traditional publisher. They assign you an editor and a creative editor. So they actually have someone who helps you to develop your content and your narrative. They assign you someone who's going to help with all the typesetting and the cover designs and the PR strategy. So they kind of guide you through their process. And then when the book is coming out, they're coordinating all the things, you know, that happen around the launch. And then they're making sure that the book is available on Amazon and doing the distribution. And what's great about a traditional publisher is that they pay you in advance, and then they pick up all the costs, and then they send you royalty checks when they arrive. The downside of a traditional publisher is that if you want to give away your own book, they don't give you a really great rate, the same as if you were printing your own book. So when you print your own book, you wear all the upfront costs. Let's call it, you know, £2,500–3,000 worth of upfront costs. But then you get to print the book for print costs. Whereas when Wiley pays you in advance and picks up all the costs, they sell you back your own book for about half the cover price. Yeah. So so if I want to buy my first book, it might only cost a couple of grand. If I want to buy 1,000 copies of my second book, it might cost me $5 or. Oh, hello.
Lost you again there. You were just giving us the cost of buying it, the first book you self-published versus the cost of buying it through Wiley.
So the second book will cost £5,000 or £6,000 to buy 1,000 copies, as opposed to £2,000 or £3,000.
Yeah, that's a big difference. Yeah. And what about just flip cameras here? What about with Wiley and ebooks? So there's two questions there really. One is that, and this could apply to any of your books. Have you given away ebooks, and have you got the same kind of traction with those or not? And with a traditional, obviously, with your self-published book, you do whatever you want. But with a traditional publisher, what are they like on that? Are they a little bit unhappy if you give the book away for free? I imagine they would be, but
the traditional publisher, they don't mind if you're buying 1,000 copies a month. they don't care at all. They're very happy to sell you 1,000 copies at that, and you can do whatever you want with them. You give them away if you like.
No, but I mean, I was talking about ebooks. Sorry, Daniel. Like an ebook version, would they?
Oh, with the ebook, they set the price. So
Yeah.
I actually would love it if they would drop the price of my ebooks on Amazon, but the publisher and Amazon set the price of the ebooks, and they know that my ebooks sell quite well, so they sell them for £7 or £8 on Kindle store, which I think is really quite high. But I mean, it's higher than I would love to sell more copies. I've seen other people's Kindle books that are £3, and they perform really, really well because people don't even think twice. My books are always in the top 10 for business books, but but they are £7. I don't have any say over how much that they sell. Therefore, the other one that's been incredibly successful is the audio bookstore. So my second book, Entrepreneur Revolution, has been a massive hit in Audible, and pays this amazing royalty every month or every quarter for the audio downloads, and it's phenomenal how successful the audio books have been.
Yeah, and that's a really interesting point as well, isn't it? Because a lot of people overlook audio, but the ability to get your audio version out there, whether you narrate it yourself or whether you do you can do royalty splits with narrators and things like that. But it's a really good additional income stream for essentially the same piece of content. So definitely one to be thinking about. Okay, so I guess so. Here's a question. What about you've got a couple of books that you were chatting about that will be coming out. I think one's coming out next year. You've experienced both sides, that the hybrid side versus the traditional publisher. What's next? What's your preference, as it were?
It really comes down to strategy. So I've just done 2 books with Wiley, and I really, because they're they pay great, they pay me a great advance, they pick up all the costs, and they do the book, and they're just a really fun, great group of people to work with. The next book that I'm going to do, though, is going to be a self-published book, because the next one is going to be one that I want to give away copies for free. Once again, I want to be, the next one is going to be linked to a SaaS platform, and people to go and sign up for a SaaS platform that we're going to create. And what's going to happen is that we're going to give away, as many copies of that we possibly can.
Losing you a little bit there, Daniel. I think you were saying you're going to give us give away as many copies as you possibly can.
Yeah. So with that, so many copies are going to self-published.
Okay, so I'll just recap that because I think I got that. So because you want that, you've got that strategy of giving away as many as you possibly can. You're going to self-publish this one. But again, another interesting point is just be really, especially for business authors, if you're building a business on the back end, you got to be really clear about what your strategy is, because that's going to go a long way to determining how you go about publishing. And that's not to say you can't. I mean, there are lots of places you can go and get people to help you with the different aspects of the publishing, like getting the printed version ready and cover design and stuff like that. And you can also, there's sites like Odesk and Elance where you can find editors, copy editors, content editors, people to proofread, people to do cover design, people to lay out if it's CreateSpace is the easiest one to use, I think, in terms of if you're self-publishing but you want a physical copy. So all of those options exist for you if you want to go down that self-publishing road. And of course, there are people that will do packages as well, but just make sure you're not paying over the odds for that, because you can outsource all those different elements. It just means a little bit more work for you, but it's going to save you money. So okay, good. So that's really interesting in terms of the options there. I'm just checking. Okay, we're okay for time. So I want to come on to the KPI thing in a moment, but I know you've got some sort of strong feelings on the importance of publishing within the context of business and getting that message out. Just talk to us a little bit, and intellectual property and all of those things. Talk to us a little bit about that and how important that is beyond giving the books away and so on.
So I believe that the writing process in itself is a very, very valuable process. I think the DNA of business is intellectual property insights. So every single person is sitting on an enormous amount of insights that they've got. And it's through the writing process that you clarify and crystallize and formalize those insights into intellectual property. And it's those insights that build a very, very successful business. Even if you go back to the early days of Microsoft, Bill Gates wrote articles about why software should be a paid-for industry and why people should pay for software licensing. And as a result of those articles, he clarified his own thinking. He attracted a team of people who felt the same way. Every single person is sitting on great insights.
You broke up again there. We got as far as Bill Gates attracting a team of people thinking the same way as him, and then we lost you.
Okay. So every person is sitting on great insights. I wish Sky had better insights about how to deliver fast broadband. Maybe they should write a book about it.
Yeah.
And discover.
That's the interweb for you.
Yeah. And discover, the insights that would drive that innovation. But it is actually that process. You write and then you innovate, and you can't help innovate after writing. So it's a very valuable process.
Yeah, I'd certainly second that. Yeah.
Yeah. Naturally, when you do write, you actually generate formalized intellectual property. You actually generate automatically copyright. You're automatically protected. And then finally, when you distribute, getting an idea into market is a very, very powerful form of intellectual property protection. So from purely practical standpoint, having people who have read your book, having a book on Amazon, making sure that when someone Googles your name, the Amazon author link pops up, all of that is a very valuable positioning and very powerful way of getting intellectual property into the marketplace and protecting it from a practical term. I can't tell you how many people have emailed myself and others saying, "Oh, Daniel, we've spotted a copycat who's talking about personal branding, and they're ripping off the key person of influence concept." And I'm sitting there going, they're not really ripping off the key person of influence, bros. They're just talking about personality branding and the power of personality branding. And I don't think they're ripping me off. But it's funny that we've blocked out a marketplace of thousands, tens of thousands of people who really feel that that's our space, that we own that.
Yeah, that is interesting. Yeah. And, we get that. I mean, I've had people rip off my Crush It with Kindle, which is my main book. I've had people rip that off, right down to the cover design, and it's just like, really, you can't. Yeah. And sometimes people are going to write similar things, and it's not a rip off at all, as you were saying. Sometimes people will rip you off, and you just think, really, you can't come up with something original. I even had one person link me to one of their books as a contributor. In order to, it's in the hope that people would searching for me would find their book, and I had to go to Amazon and get myself unlinked from their book, which I thought was a bit outrageous.
Amazing.
But there are people out there that are like that, and that there always have been, there always will be. I think if you keep producing great content, get it out there, and as you made an important point, which I think a lot of people are not clear about, which is that when you create something, copyright automatically vests in you as the author of that piece of work. You don't have to go and register or anything like that. But you make the point that once you publish it, that's an evidential thing. It's out in the marketplace, and also people begin to associate you with what you've created and all the good things that flow from that. So good. Okay. Well, let's talk a little bit about the KPI thing, the key personal influence. This is a very important part of what you do, and you make a really good point that it's not authors, it's not books that make money, it's authors, it's key people of influence. So perhaps explain what you mean by that, and then I know you've got five KPI steps, and we can chat about those as well.
Is that a book fits within a broader context. And,
sorry, Daniel. Do you want to start that again? Because
Sure.
Sky gave us a blank screen for a moment there and no audio.
Oh, wow.
So I thought I'd lost you completely that time.
How are we looking? How are we looking now?
You're back now, and I can hear you, which is good. Dramatic improvement.
Okay. So the idea is good. The idea is that a book fits within a broader context, and that it's actually a key person of influence who makes the real money. It's not the book that makes money. Someone asked me today, what sort of royalty checks do you get from your book? And, you know, I thought about it, and I said, well, for one of my books, I got about £20,000 for the year last year as a royalty check. And I thought, and he went, wow, that's pretty amazing, £20,000. And I said, yeah, but really, I'm happy to just take that £20,000 and put it back into PR, promoting the book. It's not all that important. He goes, it's not that important. I would love to get £20,000. I said, well, in the context, that exact same book, I know of at least £500,000 worth of deals that have been done as a result of someone reading that book. It's nothing in comparison to the back end of what happens once you're a published author, once you're a successful author. So the money that you can make as a key person of influence is millions.
Sorry, Dan, I'm gonna have to interrupt you again. We got as far as you were starting. We were about to give us a number. I think you said 500,000 made on the back end of that, and then it just went garbled again. Sorry, folks. If you're outside of the UK, Sky is one of the so-called broadband providers.
Yeah.
And I believe it's Daniel's provider here, so we'll blame them. So do you want to pick it up from that point? You were about to give us that number.
Yeah, so I was saying that hundreds of thousands of pounds to millions of pounds worth of business gets done off the back of being a key person of influence. So a key person of influence might make tens of thousands of pounds off of a book, but on the back end of being an author, there's thousands of pounds in speaking fees per speaking engagement. There's tens of thousands of pounds per consulting engagement. There's hundreds of thousands of pounds worth of product sales if you generate a product that is linked to a book. There's shares that people are willing to give you in their enterprise if you're willing to consult or be branded alongside them. So there's just a whole business that goes on the back end of a book, and it's kind of like asking the question, where does Jamie Oliver make his money? And Jamie Oliver, you could say, oh, well, he sells millions of books, so he must make millions from the books. Well, the truth is he makes way more money than that off restaurants and licensing deals and, you know, all the other stuff that's going on, TV shows and that. So all of that stuff that's going on, as a result, it's the entire ecosystem that a book is part of that is you know, there's where the money's made. And I call that being a key person of influence. So a key person of influence is that go-to person, someone whose name comes. So, I mean, one of the largest consulting firms in the world, one of their partners was looking for someone associated with entrepreneurship. Just recently, they did a search on Amazon for entrepreneurship, and up comes my book, Entrepreneur Revolution, 165-star reviews. They order the book, they then get in touch and they say, hey, we want to do a whole bunch of work with you. And, you know, and it's that sort of stuff that happens weekly, you know, that is way more important than a few book royalty checks.
Yeah. There's a couple of things I want to pull out of that. The first of all, I just want to go back to what you were saying about I was asking the question about how much you made in terms of royalties, and was, you know, thought that the £20,000 was a big deal, which is it's a nice chunk of money, but, you know, wasn't aware until he explained it to him of the bigger picture, or, you know, the hundreds or thousands or millions that you can make on the back end. And I think that's an important mindset shift for people, is to start becoming aware of the incredible possibilities that a book can lead to, all the doors it opens and so on. And then just picking up on the story you just gave us about how person read the Entrepreneur Revolution and got in touch with you and said, "I want to work with you." And that just takes me back just very quickly to when I very first published Crush It with Kindle. And back in December 2012, and about a month and a half later, I got I think it was a Facebook message or something from a guy called Jeff Affleck, who's actually one of the speakers on the summit. He's going to be on tomorrow, in fact. And Jeff is the marketing guy for Marcy Shimoff. I don't know if you know Marcy. She's sold 15 million books. I mean, she's hugely successful. She was in the movie The Secret.
Wow.
And also works with Chris Atwood and Janet Bray Atwood. And literally, the book had only been out a month or so. And on the back of that, they asked me to come and speak to they have a boot camp for self-published or self-published authors, basically, who want to do a how-to stroke self-help type of book. So it's a very high-end elite program, a residential weekend thing. And for me, it had just sort of started on this journey as a self-published author. It really was one of those pinch me moments. Because I'm on this Skype call live, talking to this room full of people, and then they did Q&A at the end, and had Marcy asking me questions. I'm like, I can't believe, because obviously my focus was on the Kindle side of the publishing and some of the specifics that differ from the traditional publishing and the marketing there. And it was literally kind of pinched me. I can't believe Marcy Shimoff is asking me questions. This is a woman who sold 15 million books, and all because I just pressed the button and got the book out there. And I just tell that story just to reinforce what you said and get that message out that, like, until you publish, nothing's going to happen. But once you do, it's amazing. Doors will open that you didn't even know were there. So I just wanted to share that with people. Yeah.
The best part about publishing is the magical opportunities come your way that you could never have predicted. Once you get a book out there, the things that happen, that there's no way of knowing what's going to happen. There's no way of knowing how many wonderful opportunities. It's just my inbox in my computer is just like a random slot machine of opportunities that every day I push the get mail button, and it's speaking engagements, and it's fees and consulting and all this stuff, and it's just constant.
Yeah, it is amazing. So let's talk about the steps to becoming a key person of influence now. So you've actually got a set of practical steps, and I think we've seen how important it is to become a key person and how a book is an integral part of that. But take us through, if you could, those steps.
Yeah. So step number one is about having a specific niche that you own and that you can pitch and in one sentence describe the value that you offer within that niche. So Crush It on Kindle is a really great micro niche, and you can pitch the benefits of it all in 1 or 2 minutes. And that's step number one, to choose a micro niche and learn how to pitch for that business really, really well. Step number two is to publish content that relates to that niche, that positions you as the go-to person in there. And obviously it could be a book, it could be a Kindle book, it could be a report, it could be even blogs or articles. But obviously a book is is going to be the gold standard. The third step is to have a set of products that go with that, so that you actually have either products that other people have created and that you endorse, or products that you've created, or a set of services that you can broker or deliver, but a way of monetizing the opportunity. Step number four is to raise profile. So to use the book, to use the pitch, to use the products, to be able to do things like speaking at conferences, to be featured in the media, to do traditional media profile building, to win awards, all of those things that are very profile building, to be featured alongside people with existing profiles. So all of that would be the next step. And then the fifth one is to do joint ventures and partnerships, and to actually connect with all the right people, partner up around a vision, and actually get great partners on board.
Just lost you there. You're talking about getting great partners on board.
Yeah, and then experiencing a multiplier effect. So, so the multiplier effect can be that if you had a partner who had a list of 100,000 people on their database, and you've got a product that's, you know, £500, and you know they can sell 1,000 of those. Well, there's £500,000 worth of revenue between that partnership. So it's a multiplier effect.
Yeah. So very powerful. Let's recap. So pitch, publish, products, profile, and partnerships.
Profile, partnership.
Yeah. And I mean, just on the publishing thing, you said, you know, a book is kind of the gold standard, but you mentioned blogging as well. I just want to loop back to what you were saying very early on about how your first book, in fact, The Key Personal Influence, started out as blog posts, and then what you were laid up in Singapore, that you wrote some additional content, repurposed it, turned that into a 40,000 word book. So, you know, there's you don't necessarily have to, a book is great, but you don't necessarily have to start out as a book. You can do blog posts, start getting some traffic, get some feedback. It's also nice with blog posts. You have to start getting some feedback from people as to what, you know, what's getting the response, and that can shape what you end up creating as the finished book. Good. And, you know, out of these 5 steps, and I think this is an important point as well. Correct me if I'm wrong, Daniel, but there is actually a sequence here, isn't it? These need to come in the right order.
Yeah, right? There's a syntax. It has to go in that order, because what you pitch determines or informs what you publish. The published content creates the insights that create the right product and the right way of delivering the product. The product funds the profile. So if you were to appear, if someone, a real life example,
you got as far as a real life example, and then I lost you again, Daniel. Don't know if you can hear me still.
Getting Googling his name.
Sorry, Daniel, if you can hear me, we got, okay, you're back. We get the blank screen again. Okay, yeah, we got as far as you saying real life example, and then you cut out.
Yeah, so a real life example is a client who appeared on Oprah Winfrey's show in the USA, had no products, and millions of people were watching, and he made no money out of it whatsoever, because there was nothing to buy. There was no way for people to buy anything. And with that, he, you know, had he had a book and had he had a product, he would have made, you know, literally hundreds of thousands of dollars. So he came and worked with us to create products.
Yeah. Good.
So it has to happen in that order.
I think you were saying it has to happen in that order. Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
Good. Okay. So before we sort of finish things up and obviously give people a chance to follow up with you and get in touch with you, any other sort of key points you think that we've missed that you want to mention?
Well, I think that the key point from this interview is that a book is wonderful because it doesn't rely upon fast internet in order for people to read it and get the message.
Yeah.
For anyone who's been listening and being a little bit frustrated, if they were reading the book, that would never happen. They'd just be able to turn the pages.
Yeah. So and for everybody who is listening, thank you for your perseverance. Good. Okay. So Daniel, I mean, fantastic content, and I certainly highly recommend your books to everybody listening. Obviously you've got your books, but give us the names of the books again, but also tell people about your website, where they can find out about you and follow up.
Yeah. So we actually have a publishing platform that a lot of our clients use. We launched it about a month ago. It's keypersonofinfluence.com, and we've got over 50 people who are key people of influence around the world, blogging on a regular basis and sharing really valuable ideas and really valuable content. So that's keypersonofinfluence.com. And then there's the 3 books on Amazon: Key Person of Influence, Entrepreneur Revolution is about why talented people are leaving big corporate jobs and going and starting businesses and working for startups and small businesses. And then the book I described was a 2-year study into why people line up and why people join queues and waiting lists. And it was all about, in a world where people can find alternatives very quickly, why on earth would they join a waiting list?
Yeah. And you cut out there, Daniel, but while you're doing that, I don't know if I remember you telling us a great story about a pizzeria that you went to and traveling to that. And in a very commoditized world, if you can get people queuing for you, you know, that's huge. My first business, I had to pull the plug on it because it was commoditized, and I wasn't able to differentiate it sufficiently well and charge a high enough price for the service we were providing. You know, there's a point at which if it's costing you more to deliver the service than you're getting back in, at some point you have to call time, which is no fun.
Yeah, exactly. No fun. And a lot of people experience that, which is why I wrote the book Oversubscribed.
Yeah. And so that's literally just come out. So I'm looking forward to reading that one as well. So Daniel, I just want to say a big thank you, first of all, for being a guest on the Self-Publishing Summit. Really appreciate that. And also for just giving us so much great content. And I want to wish you the very best of luck with everything you're doing. And thank you again for, being a guest and giving us such great information.
My absolute pleasure. I'm off to call my broadband provider.
Good luck with that. Okay. Cheers, Daniel. Bye-bye.